On First News today, we're back with a special guest, Lou Denon, who's the owner of Sundown Helicopters, whom we've talked to before. And Lou, we've talked about getting the chopper ready and getting up there and flying the field. Now let's talk about the safety of this whole thing, and that's most important. I'm sure that people don't realize that your thoughts and safety are probably the top thing in this whole business.
That's exactly true. We're concerned not only about ourselves, my crew, but the people that are in the area, homes, traffic up and down the highway even. We'll have to break off and make sure that there's no traffic in the area before we spray.
Now, Lou, out in the field, you'll be spraying things, herbicides and pesticides. There's classes of those. How are they classified?
Well, there's three classes. Class 1 is danger poison. Those are things like organophosphates and carbamates, and then you work down into the Class 2 and 3, which are the least toxic, like pyrethroids and bacteriological things that are not really harmful to humans, but they can do a number on the bugs.
Now, these chemicals, after you get through spraying the field, I notice that many of them are marked with the fact that they have just been sprayed. Are you responsible for that, or is the pest advisor?
The pest advisors around here do that, and the fields that are marked are ones that have been sprayed with a Class 1 category, which means that there are different regulations as to worker re-entry and when the crops can be harvested.
Now, if you spray a field and there is no markers, that means that no one's in danger of walking through it.
Well, we used a Class 2 or 3 material at that point, and again, it's a lesser toxicity.
Okay, Lou, we're getting a lot of encroachment. People are moving into the farm areas. They want to be in this lush country here. That makes a big problem for people like yourself and for farmers.
That's true. There's new housing developments going up in fields that we've sprayed all the time, so it just makes it harder on us to stay out of the way. And then some of the people don't even realize that the green area around them are crops, and that those crops have to be maintained with normal cultivation practices, which include aerial application.
Another thing folks don't realize that you can't be flying in at just any time of the day. There's certain hours of the day. What are they that you like to fly?
Well, we do probably 90% of our work at night, and that's primarily because the bugs are more active at that time. Then there's less human activity out in the field, so we don't have to worry about people or irrigators.
Now, Lou, I see those big lights you have, those halogen lights, and do they adequately show up what you have to see in the field at night?
Very much so. In fact, you'd be surprised that in the daytime you can see telephone poles, but you can't see the wires, and at night those lights will make the wires stand right out for about a quarter of a mile.
Now, you do have to, of course, be very careful what you do. If people sometimes complain, well, they oversprayed our house and then we're sick and hurt. What happens then?
Well, if a person feels that they've been sprayed, they need to contact the State Department of Agriculture, and they'll come out and do an investigation and see whether or not that there is an actual overspray, and then they will cite the person that did that.
I'm sorry that sometimes the people don't realize when they buy into certain developments, they're not warned about the fact that there's agriculture being handled around that area. It's really sad that our developers don't do more of that, but nevertheless, they have ways to protect themselves, and you're protecting them as much as you can.
Boy, we try.
How close to a house can you spray?
Depending on the material, we can go up to 400 feet, and if it's a Class 1, then we have to stay a quarter of a mile in schools and daycares.
You've seen it right here on First News Today. Lou Denon, who is the owner of Sundown Helicopters, and I'm George Gatley, and that's the story on First News Today.